I don't want to know if I like that laptop better for temporary or this one.
First world problems.
This one does have a purpose. Okay, fair enough.
Let there be sound. Is there sound? We have sound?
We have sound.
We have sound.
We had sound. We just weren't sending it out because you guys were talking about things that we shouldn't be talking about.
Yeah.
And we're greedy.
We're being intentionally muted.
Yep. Because last week we opened up with, let's look at the rundown and see what we're going to talk about tonight.
Oh, whoops.
Good
evening.
Good evening.
Hello,
This is the
Josh.
voice of Enigma. For the next hour, we will take you with us to a world of...
You almost had it, Josh.
I'm
almost.
waiting. A world of
I can't remember. Something about pleasure. I don't know.
meditation.
Turn out the lights. Take a deep breath. And
Relax.
relax. Start to move
Bring up something
slowly.
on my machine. What was I going to
Very slowly. Let the rhythm be your guiding light.
Matte or super glossy panel.
Yeah, do we need to move those other ones? Are they kind of obnoxiously?
Panel.
They're bright. They're
Oh. Yeah, I don't think we need the battery test just running during the...
No, I need the battery test.
Well, but in view. Oh no, you're throwing off the test. You're changing the Wi-Fi range, and now the power of the radio has changed. And
Josh, who was that? Was that Enigma?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Such a good album. It's one of my guilty pleasures. Next to Ace of Base.
you know, those two albums, man.
I like Deep Forest. Deep Forest in the
Forest
early
had some
90s
good
was
ones.
awesome.
Yeah, the Deep Forest albums that came out around the time of those other two albums were pretty good. And then there wasn't the Tribe Called Quest one at the same time?
Yep.
Probably.
Midnight Marauders.
What's that
Wasn't
color
that the
behind
same
us
time?
again?
Delirium, Mythos,
Wait,
all those guys.
what are we talking about?
Color behind
they're-
me looked pink.
They were all guys, bands, things.
We can use whatever you want. It looks different on the screen coming through the camera than it does on this. Oh, okay.
And Sandstorm. Can't forget Sandstorm.
What the hell is this Jedi
Oh.
Master Allen guy in the chat?
Huh. The control page up, page down doesn't work on YouTube pages. Like it's fast forwarding and finding the.
If you hit question mark, it'll
Hi.
show you the hotkeys. And
I don't
you have
wanna.
to be in YouTube though.
Yeah, I know. That would make sense.
Doing Ken.
All right, are we ready?
Getting there.
Hold on, I gotta send out a tweeter.
Already ready? Already?
Why not send out a woofer instead?
Too much bass.
Base.
Don't want to pander to your base.
But we want to increase our base, don't we?
And we're all fired. I really should get a new one of these dust covers because it's just covered in lint at this point.
Isn't
Well,
that the
it's-
stuff it's supposed to
what it's supposed to
protect it
do.
from?
Sure, but at
It's a
some point
dust cover.
it's going to become saturated with crap.
Is it not cleanable?
Lick it.
It doesn't really seem like it.
It's just foam.
Yeah, but it's not very.
You just rinse it in the
foam.
you rinse it in the sink.
It's like starting to kind of.
Do you know what else I rinse in the sink? Do you really want me to put that in
No,
there?
no.
You want to mute my mic, Alex? When I put this back on.
I also don't want to know the pose required to do that. Okay?
There we go.
Now everybody sees it. In their head.
What?
Never mind. Josh sees it.
Sure I do.
Ooh, I got retweeted by Ryan Shrout.
What a d-bag.
Ooh, I got retweeted by PC Per.
How you doing, Josh?
I'm good.
Did you just circular retweet yourself?
Right.
No, actually, I lied. The first one was for Ryan Shrout mentioning PC Per, and then the second one was for PC Per retweeting.
So it's like, how could you retweet back and forth and never have an original tweet? Like, how the hell?
Retweet back and forth forever.
You just keep retweeting. Will it let you do that?
Yeah.
My appetite.
But I think if you retweet the same thing more than once, it doesn't show up again in the timeline. I think that's how that works.
I don't think
that's
that's true.
hacks.
You don't think that's true?
No.
So I should just retweet it like 5 times?
Yep.
Why not?
Well, time to go to my picks of the week folder.
I wish I could figure out what piece on this thing is squeaking.
All of it.
It can't be the case.
It's the operator.
Is Kyle in our chat?
You need to be lubed.
I'm drinking beer.
Don't see him yet.
I don't see him.
That's on the inside. Yeah, where's Kyle?
Maybe he's like doing work.
No.
Playing with his new chair.
Seems very unlikely.
Probably making bed sheets out of Make PC Gaming Great Again t-shirts.
Do I want to mention these leaked RX 560 benchmarks?
RX 560? You keep saying that.
560
Well,
again?
RX Vega 560.
It's no, there's
It's
no zero.
56.
56.
You keep saying
Stupid.
RX 560.
It's a stupid thing.
Yes.
I had lots of discussions with people at AMD talking about that it didn't make sense that they went Vega 64 and Vega 56 because in every other aspect of their marketing careers, it has been moving away from like actual specifications in the product name.
Still a better name than Threadripper.
No way.
Everything old is new again, bro.
Threadripper's a good one.
You've gotten used to it now, but it's a bad name.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it
I
is.
think it's a good name.
I think it's a
bad
good
name.
name.
It takes your threads and literally just rips them. Like,
That would be bad.
That doesn't sound very good.
no?
Okay, how about now? Are
Turning
we
his
ready?
threads into the stuff on his dust cover.
Bum cover what?
Dust cover.
Appears to be.
Dust cover.
461 August
What
6th.
was the thing you were
cover.
bouncing on?
Secret tunnel.
Anal bum cover.
Secret
Anal bum
tunnel. Through the mountain.
Wait, what?
Secret tunnel.
Dude, I don't know. Don't look at me, guys.
It's a great song.
Outside of our age group there.
I don't.
Always.
Probably.
I
Or
might
maybe
have.
but not really.
maybe this whole time, Josh has been the in one with the kid crowd, with the youth and the millennials.
The
and
youths.
it's been us.
Josh is a closet
Youths,
millennial.
not the youth, the youths.
The
He's
youth.
a closet millennial. Yep.
I love young people. They're great.
Waka waka.
Waka flocka.
Wait, is that a cannibalism joke?
Waka flocka.
I think so.
No.
No, it's a Muppets joke.
I
Same
wasn't
thing,
talking about
really.
yours. I got that other stuff.
Do-do-do-do.
Okay, let me bring up the channels here.
Down
I think Alex just
Yeah?
while I'm thinking about it, I think Andy is going to be here next Wednesday,
Okay.
like and during the early afternoon, like 12 to 1 or 1 to 2.
Mhm.
Then because they leave at 4 that day.
Oh, okay. Good deal.
All right.
We'll get it done.
All right. Are we ready? Are you ready?
Oh, I guess.
I don't know.
I'm
Are
already
you
ready already.
You guys ready?
Y'all ready for this? Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
All righty, here we go. 3, 2. Hey everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 461, being recorded on August 2nd, 2017. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
And I'm Alan Malventano.
Your clicky thing makes noise.
I know.
Just tap it instead of pushing it.
It's fine.
I'm just saying.
It's okay.
They're gonna be copy and pasting during my show.
Squeeze it. Don't pull it.
I would counter those requests. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is a PC Perspective podcast. We talk about computer hardware and only computer hardware 100% of the time. It's been a busy week. I spent my weekend off in Los Angeles at AMD meetings and SIGGRAPH. So it's like the week never ended, and so that's a pretty great feeling, honestly. We do record the show on Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, pcper.com/live. pcper.com/subscribe gets you this page here if you need a gentle reminder that will show you or will tell you, hey, these guys are going to be live on the internet soon. And I give you a little rundown of what we're going to talk about, a couple of the topics, and that's all we use it for. So sign up for that, and maybe you'll be the first to know about what the secret AMD live stream is going to be like next week. You'll be the first to know. pcper.com/subscribe. We also have our Patreon campaign going. I hate to say this. I feel like I'm begging, but we're back at $3.99.
Oh no.
We're back at $3.99.
Josh, don't do it.
Somebody could be the 400th patron again.
Again.
Hey, so we got to check in. That who was our guy last week? That was like
Oh, the
Max.
$100. Yeah. It did go through.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
He actually
wow.
emailed me to make sure it went through.
Oh,
So mad props out to him.
Yeah.
Absolutely did.
awesome.
So Patreon, by the way, for those who don't know, is a website that facilitates you being able to directly contribute to us on a monthly basis. It could be $1 a month, $3, $5, $10, $20, $100 a month, whatever you actually feel like the content we produce is worth. Hey, we didn't hit that mark that I said we'd have to hit to do mailbags, and here I am doing mailbags anyway. M-A-I-L-E.
Wait,
Mailbags.
Mailbag.
Did I say put an E on the end
Yes,
anyway?
you put an end on
It's a mix
Yeah.
of the two mail.
Oh,
Right? So you figure it out.
okay.
So patreon.com/pcper takes you to the site. You can contribute there. We're eternally grateful for anybody that appreciates us enough in order to do that. It's great if you run ad blocker. This is a good way for you to kind of make up for that socially and emotionally, I feel. And if you just feel like we're doing good stuff, we would greatly appreciate it. Anybody who becomes a patron or increases their Patreon campaign during the stream will get called out. Anybody that decreases their Patreon amount during the show will also get called out. Just saying. Just putting it out there. Real quick, we did mention we're doing mailbags now. This dumb face here. Oh, no.
Where'd it go?
There he goes. Is my face doing the second PC per mailbag campaign, just mailbag. This is really just me sitting in front of the monitor talking at it for about 24 minutes. So if you find
Are
that
you not
interesting,
opening any mail?
Yeah.
I'm opening virtual mail.
It's not as fun.
Virtual M-I-A-M-A-I-L-E.
I don't see a poll in the background.
M-A-I-L-E. So it's
E?
it's just confusing enough to be interesting. So we've got that going on, and also
You know what M-A-I-L-E in French means?
I do not.
Yep.
Ball sack.
Awesome.
Is it really?
It's a bag of balls.
No.
Oh, darn.
Now I want to know. We also have, this is probably my favorite opening to a video ever. We're doing our PC per plays. And this is where Ken and I, or two people or whatever, play a game for
That
a
really
little
describes
bit.
our relationship, I think.
Pretty much.
The clap I just made, you mean?
And
Yes.
the face I make.
Yeah. So, an hour plus or something like that. This week we played Star Wars X-Wing, the original the 1994 or 5 version.
Yeah.
Slightly improved, added voice acting, whatever, but still the original graphics. You can come see us play that. I'm using an old Logitech USB joystick as well. It was pretty fun. I did blow up a Death Star.
No, you didn't.
I
You
blew up a Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
I got killed on the Death Star level about 4 times in a row very quickly, and I went, nah, I probably shouldn't fast forward right to the last level of the game.
Yep.
So even though I would bet there's
It wasn't the
almost
last level of the game. It was in the middle of the game.
yeah, you're right. I would also bet that there's probably no difficulty differences. It's not like the AI is smarter in that one.
Just more enemies thrown at you, probably.
So check those two out on our YouTube channel if you haven't yet, and let us know what you think about the new content. So let's get into news and reviews of the week. We're going to start, we have a lot of AMD stuff to touch on, but we're going to start with, on the review side, this went up, I guess, right after the podcast last week.
Yep.
Yeah. Ryzen 3, 1300X, 1300X and 1200 CPUs. The Ryzen 3 processors are the bottom rung of the Ryzen family. Ryzen 7, Ryzen 5, now Ryzen 3, kind of competing against the Core i3 processors. You can kind of see in this table here a little bit of what that looks like. Both of these are quad-core parts with 4 threads, so they do not have SMT enabled. They have base clocks of 3.1 or 3.4 gigahertz, and then boost clocks of 3.4, 3.7. So 300 megahertz difference between the two SKUs. Still 2-channel DDR4 memory, 65-watt TDPs, and $109 and $129 MSRPs, which puts them in an interesting position, right? Because if you look at the Pentium or the Intel line, the Pentium G4560 is $80, thereabouts. Core i3-7100 is $119. The 7350K, which was an interesting part when Intel announced it to begin with, that there would be an unlocked kind of overclocking friendly Core i3 part. And then you go up to Core i5-7500 at $204. So the Ryzen 3s are again aggressively priced. And you can use these with any platform that supports Ryzen. That could be X370, B350, or A320. Although I would say using an X370 board is probably a bad move for cost concerns. Both these processors do ship with this cooler, the Wraith. What is it called, Ken? The Wraith
Spire?
Spire. Yeah, there you go. It's good. It's quiet. It's effective. We have no problems with this integrated cooler. Still all the same architecture and changes and stuff that go along with that. We did our normal rounds of benchmarks, Sysmark to Pavre to Cinebench. Let me go actually here over to our. So this is a good test. Audacity MP3, very single-threaded application workload. And you can see that the Ryzen 3 1300X it's the slowest of the parts here, other than the Ryzen 3 1200. Not unexpected. They're running at more modest clocks than the other Ryzen parts, and AMD has a disadvantage in IPC. Now, if you look at something like the Cinebench multi-threaded scores, where higher is better, you'll see that the Ryzen 3 13X is faster than the 4560. It's faster than the Core i3-7100. It's faster than the Core i3-7350K. And it's, within fighting battle of the Core i5-7500, because the Core i5s are also 4-core, 4-thread. So, they're running at pretty good performance levels across the board. Now, the one that's most interesting probably is going to be the gaming performance, because this is the class of product you go to when you're trying to build super low-cost parts or super low-cost builds. And you can kind of see that it doesn't win all the game tests. It doesn't lose all the game tests. It is more competitive with Core i3 than Ryzen 5 was with Core i5 or Ryzen 7 was with Core i7, because the Core i3s downclock a little bit more than the i5s do. But no, it's just 2 cores and 4 threads, right? So the difference of 4 threads versus 4 true cores is noteworthy. Like, if you look at this game like Deus Ex, no processor makes any difference across the board in those results. But Far Cry Primal, there are differences, but the Ryzen 3 is very competitive. Same in GTA 5. Hitman it's a little bit behind some of the higher end Core i3s. Rise of Tomb Raider, it's kind of right there with it. I think it's pretty good results. If you look at performance per dollar, that's really what matters to this class of product. I will note the power consumption is higher for these than the other ones, but not so much that, I don't know. It feels odd because the TDPs of these parts are much closer than the power consumption would indicate. So clearly there's a difference of opinion on how we're measuring that, or how they are setting the spec, not how we're measuring it. But regardless, it's within reason. It's a very efficient part in terms of performance per dollar when looking at multi-threaded apps. And even as we scroll down to gaming, you'll see that the best part in terms of performance per dollar is the Pentium G4560. Now, that being said, it's also the least performant processor in the mix. It just happens to be
super cheap.
Yeah, less expensive than it is bad performant. I don't know. I was trying to figure out how to make that sentence go.
It's just extremely low cost.
Right. Like if you sold a processor for $1 and it rendered the frame at all, you would probably get a pretty good metric here. So there probably needs to be a little bit of thought that goes into that. Overall, pretty good part. I think it's a really good rounding out of the Ryzen platform. I think, Jeremy, correct this. Do we have Ryzen 3 in our hardware leaderboard at the budget side?
Oh, yeah, we might.
Why did did you turn Nordic all of a sudden? What happened there?
I just felt like it.
Oh, okay.
The heat is driving me literally insane. Yeah, I mean, just because you've got 4 true cores there, like you're showing, single-threaded, it might fall behind on some, but usually it's matching. You start opening up into multi-threaded, and for a budget build, chances are it's going to be doing a lot of different tasks. You're going to benefit from that multi-threaded performance and good price.
Yeah, I think so too. Josh, any thoughts on Ryzen 3? I know you previously spent a lot of time with AMD processors. We haven't really gotten you any of the Ryzen stuff yet, which will rectify soon now that the whole family is kind of out and about. But I mean, do you think this is a good enough part, a good enough price to kind of make a dent?
Yeah, for the price, it's really good because you get 4 real threads as compared to the i3s and the Pentiums. Even though sometimes you have a little IPC improvement on the Intel side, it is not exceptionally huge. It's not like, the old FX 4350s, which, it's a last generation bulldozer pile driver. It didn't do well. It was 2-module, 4 thread. It just couldn't compete. And now they've got things at a good price point. They don't throw out a whole lot of heat. You can overclock them a little bit. I mean, Ryzen's not going to be a great overclocker,
right.
But for the price, the platform that you can get either through B350 or X370, you get a whole lot of bang for the buck.
Yeah.
And having 4 full cores and thread support is going to put you in things that will really leverage that into i5 territory, which you're saving $100 off of with these processors.
That's a significant amount. I will apologize. We didn't do any overclocking testing. Humanitarian asked in the chat. We just kind of ran out of time on this particular launch. My guess is we're going to see it top out about the same thing we saw the higher end Ryzen 7 parts. It seems to be more of a chip level architectural issue. So somewhere around 4 gigahertz would be my guess, which could, especially if you can get that other Ryzen 3 1200, would be a pretty impressive perf gain for $109 CPU. But you're probably going to need more cooler than what comes with this as well. So then you get into, okay, if you're going to spend $50 or $40 or $50 on a cooler, could you just buy a Ryzen 5 and get quad-core 8-thread? And what's the better use of your money in terms of actual performance? It really depends on what your workload happens to be. So check out that review. It is on PC Per. It is the Ryzen 3, and it is in the hardware leaderboard as well. Josh, you posted a review of the Fanatec Club Sport Lite Elite.
I did.
Isn't it Fanatic?
Fanatic.
Is
You can't
it?
put light
Fanatic.
and elite in a product name at the same time.
Wait, it's Fanatic?
Fanatic.
Yeah. They're Germans.
Oh, then they are fanatics.
All right. So
Yes.
we're looking at a racing wheel. Give me the high level. What do
Give
we
me the
what do we
lowdown.
got? Yeah.
Okay, so
No, I said the high
Fanatic
level.
has
You
been
said
a-
lowdown. I said high level. Those are different things.
so do you want the lowdown or the high level?
I want the skinny.
Give me the fat.
The gouge.
Just
You guys
talk
are so
about it.
confusing.
I know.
Anyway, Fanatic. They, last year I did a review on the Club Sport V2 and all the accoutrements around it. It's a high-end $1,500 thing, the Club Sport last year. And it had every kind of bell and whistle you could possibly want. Really heavy-duty machine, milled aluminum. Motor was exceptionally strong.
Yeah.
Real leather-wrapped wheel, all those fun things.
Yep.
Well, not everybody's willing to pay $1,500 for such a thing. And Fanatic is, they're wondering, what can we do more to get more consumers and give them the Fanatic experience, other than going into the insane asylum and slathering yourself with strawberry jelly.
Very
But
Fanatic. Cool.
yes, they decided to make the Club Sport Elite. Club Sport Lite Elite, CSL.
All right.
And this is a scaled down version of their wheel and their base. It uses a slightly less powerful motor. I think the Club Sport V2 and the V2.5 are about 8 to 8.5 Newton meters of force. This is around 6 Newton meters. So it's still pretty significant, and it's more than you would expect from, say, a Thrustmaster T300 or a Thrustmaster TX, but around the same place as the new Thrustmaster TSPC. Now, they're actually offering this with the base, a wheel that is Xbox One compatible, and then a 2-pedal pedal box for about $489. And this is far cheaper than they have ever offered anything before. And they kind of upgraded my setup with what's called the load cell braking system, which gives you up to 90 kilograms of force to push down on your brake pedal.
Right.
And Alan probably knows exactly how much force you really need to have on good brake pedals in racing type experiences.
1.5 Newton meters.
No, I mean, it's a different, not like a spring-loaded thing.
I'm sorry, that's the first thing that came to mind because I had a torque wrench that said that recently.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I mean, most racers and people who are really experienced about this stuff, they can really adjust the brake pressure, and it's kind of muscle memory in there to get to where they need to be with how much braking and surface conditions and all that. And so you can adjust this up to 90 kilograms. Mine was not that much that I did. Now you can adjust it from like 15 kilograms to the whole 90. I think I stay closer to the 15 because I'm in a rolly chair. And let me tell you, trying to push down a brake pedal in a rolly chair with 90 kilograms of force, it doesn't work real well.
You got to put that 2x4 block behind your chair.
Have you been skipping leg day, Josh?
Yes.
Not that,
that's essentially when you need that whole racing kit that I linked, I think, last week or the week before, where you actually mount them on a steel rod base that your seat is actually attached to as well. But this was a surprisingly good set, and it provided nearly all of the performance of the higher end version for a lot less price. I mean, you've given up a lot in materials. Instead of having all this milled aluminum, you've got, molded plastic.
Right.
It's the framing and the support and all that are really well done. And not only that, but it has an integrated desk clamp that the Club Sport did not have, but was offered as an extra. And that extra is huge, heavy, and clunky on the Club Sport, the full version, the big one. But in this, it was more like the Thrustmaster clamps that you can use it on something that's about 3 inches wide up to just as skinny as it can be. Mm-hmm. And it held the whole thing in place. The wheel material is kind of a rubberized plastic. It doesn't get off on your hands. So, after a couple hours of racing, you're not going to have black hands and little rubber pills around. The wheel itself is quite light. So, and it's really rigid. So, as any physics guy can probably tell you, the lighter a rotating mass is, and the more rigid it is, the better the forces from the motor are going to be distributed to your hands. And so they've done a really nice job in keeping the wheel light in, even though it's not as powerful a motor, it's still far more powerful than most other options you'll see out there. And so the response, the feeling, the acceleration is all really good. And again, it's being offered in a bundle with the 2-pedal set for $489, which is relatively inexpensive. I mean, you can get some of the Thrustmaster TX stuff for about $250 on sale, and those are that's a good buy too. But the entire Fanatec experience is a lot of power, pretty good compatibility with a lot of games. And so when you kind of combine all these things together, I thought it was a really good product. Gave the silver award. I've used it for 6 months. I haven't had any issues.
Oh, you've had it that long? Okay.
I have had it that long, and
I didn't mean it like that.
They're not real pleased with me, but it's finally out, and we know for sure that it works for at least 6 months without any real issues. And probably the thing that impressed me most was really the brake system. I used the Club Sport version last year, which was their high-end $300 just for the pedals. And it was, a wonderful experience. And this was nearly as much, but for about the third of the cost. And so I think, Fanatec really came through with where they cut costs, but where they, really decided to focus on to give you the best experience possible. So for the amount of money that you pay, I think it's a pretty dang good product.
Every time you talk about wheels, I feel like I should do more racing. I'm really bad, but I'm really bad at it. No, I know we've got like good Logitech hardware and stuff. It's not that I feel like I need to go buy more stuff. I just am bad at them. I did have fun when we did the Dirt Rally games and stuff. Yeah,
it just takes practice.
I know. You have to have
get
time
the hang of it,
to do
then
it.
you like it, and it'll be good, and you'll be setting good times.
All right.
And not driving back much.
Boo!
But that's
not fun. Yeah. All right. Let's talk real quick about some other gaming accessories. This is new from Logitech. The Logitech PowerPlay, So it's a Logitech PowerPlay, right? So this is what we're looking at. This is a wireless charging mouse surface. Okay. It is a large, I think it's 13 by 11 is the actual size of the surface. So
it's pretty big for a mouse pad.
It's a pretty big mouse pad.
Yeah.
And it basically uses a wireless charging technology with one of two new mice. Right, that number will expand because they had to integrate a charging dongle piece that comes out of the bottom.
The models are familiar. They're not like brand new models.
So they're modifications. So you got the G903, the G703. The 903 is essentially the G900 that I've used for a long time. I like it, and the G703 is essentially the G403, updated to support wireless tech. Now the interesting thing is, before I go into more details on this, is like you could buy these mice today and just use them as mice and not worry about the wireless charging part ever.
Yep, it just has a blank in the bottom circle, right?
There's a blank and there's an optional weight, and then the third option is you put the wireless charging puck in it. And the idea is pretty simple, right? There's a cable that comes out of, so up top here, you have some kind of just module block or whatever you want to call it that attaches to the pad, the surface of the pad on the bottom. It's what generates the electrical field, electromagnetic field. There's a cable, a USB cable that goes back to your machine. Obviously, they want you to plug it directly into the motherboard or into a powered USB hub, not a passive one that might limit some of the power output.
Yep.
And the idea is you can use the mouse on this surface
anywhere
on the surface, and it will never lose charge.
Yep.
It will always supply enough power to at least maintain charge. And when you're not using it, or if you're closer to the center, it has the ability to supply enough to keep it, charge it up, right?
Yeah, and I think it's able to get away with that because it's doing like a, what was it? There was a term. It was resonant something.
I don't remember.
But, it was, basically there's a way for you to do wireless charging at a slightly higher range to the point where you don't necessarily need to be next to a coil, like immediately on top of a coil.
I've seen that plugin before.
I
think it was in Wrath of Khan where they attach to the guy's ears.
It does look similar to that. It's actually the same connector that they use on the G900 mouse as well.
Yep.
So the idea here is in this module here is both the stuff that supplies the power to the pad as well as the wireless receiver for the mouse. So you plug this cable in, that's how the data is getting to your actual PC. And then you just mouse like you would normally mouse, game, do productivity tasks, whatever it is, and you just never lose power.
Yep. Even if you're very active with it, it'll still at least break even.
Yeah. You can see in this photo here, the blank versus, or no, this is the one here is the charging module. This one here is the one with the weight in it, and you just kind of cycle it, flip it in and out of the bottom, depending on which one you do. And the benefit of this model is you can, if you need to take your mouse with you to go to a LAN party or whatever, and you don't want to take the charging pad, the PowerPlay, because maybe it's a little bit more fragile, you don't want to worry about it getting stolen, whatever it is.
It is kind of like,
it is kind of fragile.
It's a flexible thing, but it has coils in it.
And you should not bend it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just works like a normal Logitech G900 wireless mouse, right? So
you can have the the dongle for it connected.
Yeah, it still ships with the norm. The mouse comes as if there was no wireless charging.
Right. So the mouse comes with the the cable and the little there's a little block that lets you connect the cable to the dongle.
to make it a little bit easier for you to manage and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. The software side is really easy. As soon as you plug the pad in for the first time, it starts to look for a mouse, and the first mouse that it sees, that's the default. Now, if you want to change it, you just go into the software.
It's like
and
Cupid.
It's nice. Jim used it and said that it was a super easy process. They actually have tuning. So the mouse pad, the PowerPlay charging pad ships with 2 different surfaces, a soft surface and a harder surface. And they have 2 profiles in the software that let you change like the, I guess, sensitivity of the sensor and stuff like that, depending if you're using the harder soft surface, right? Because your mouse will just fundamentally move at different speeds and stuff.
Yep.
And those, you can switch between those pretty easily. You know, you can monitor all the lighting presets, power consumption, all that type of stuff. A couple of caveats to it is it's at $99 for the charging pad, for the PowerPlay.
Yeah.
I think it's shipping this month. We got a little bit of an early prototype.
And the mouse is like, well, for the 903, it's like 150 or something.
The 903 is 150 and the 703 is 99. Which those are the exact same prices that the 900 and the 403 had before it.
Yep.
So they didn't raise the price in order to include the capability in the mouse.
Yeah, but if you have the 900, now you have to get the 903.
You would have to get a new mouse. Yeah. You could only use these 2 mice with this Surface.
Yeah.
Jim really liked it. Jim came away really impressed with its capability. You know, he gamed with it a long time, had no issues with the power delivery, no issues with, you know, he said he suffered through gaming for multiple hours overnight, nonstop.
It's basically identical.
And the power on the mouse was 1% more than when he started.
Yeah, so it's identical to just using those mice, like the regular way, except you just never have to. Yeah, it never goes low.
With my 900, every
couple days,
3 days, 4 days, maybe. Yeah. It starts to blink red at me, and I have to find the USB cable up by my monitor and plug it in, and I use it as a wired mouse for a couple of hours, or until I forget. Why does it feel like there's something
why is there a cable attached to my mouse?
And then I disconnect it, reattach the dongle, and move on.
Yeah.
They plan to expand the mouse.
I would think that
the number of mice that can use it.
Well, and they're probably gonna like phase out the 900 or something.
Probably
because it's
identical otherwise.
Yeah, it's basically the same mouse, except actually it's a little bit more functionality because the 900. There are no weights.
Correct. It did not have a weight option.
So at least now there's a weight option.
I don't know if the battery was bigger in the G900 than the 903 because of spacing concerns. I don't know. That's just that's one thing I might have been thinking about.
Not taking a lot of room in there.
Jim mentioned that he really likes the Logitech MX Master series of mice, and it's much more of a creativity, productivity mouse type. And if they implemented this technology in that he would buy into it instantly.
Same.
I think it's really cool. I use a G900. So this is an easy kind of conversion over for me. Some other wants we might see when it's from other versions is, have it integrated into a larger surface, even if they can't make the charging surface larger, because that was like, to be sure, or to be fair, like it's a pretty big technological advancement to have one surface that size that can charge anywhere on the surface. Reliably during motion and all that type of stuff. And they basically said, like, to go beyond that, you start to run into FCC type regulations of what the EMF can actually.
You're emitting too much.
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, that's kind of the method that Corsair was showing at Computex. Is they have a normal mouse mat with a Qi charger, the wireless charging standard that most phones that do wireless charging use, integrated, but it's only in a specific portion of the mouse pad.
It has a circle on the pad.
So you have to remember to put your mouse over there when you go to bed or leave for the night or whenever you get up from your desk. Which I think is a decent trade-off because, these mice have battery lives of like 20 hours, so you don't always need to be charging it. So if you forget one night, it's not going to be the end of the world.
If you really wanted...
And the Qi compatibility with things like phones is very nice. You already have a wireless charger on your desk.
Yeah.
That's true.
If you really wanted a mat that like went further, as long as you got the thickness right, to match the thickness of them.
Yeah.
Pad,
but you'd have a seam.
You have a seam.
I know.
A seam or a bump.
somebody in the comments said that they thought they might route out a divot in their desk to have the surface rest perfectly in there, which you could do that.
That would work.
That's pretty interesting. Maybe a little bit extreme, I think, implementation
Once the
method.
next model that comes out, you're kind of screwed.
Somebody in the comments asked for a pad that's bigger so it could charge a keyboard as well, or keep a keyboard maintained power consumption wise. I don't know if that's a significant higher amount of power, especially when you get into RGB keyboards.
In my mind, are you really that worried about the keyboard being wireless though? It's like it's on your desk.
Only,
right?
It's just wires going across your desk in an area that could be usable for other things.
You still have to have one cable, though.
You still have the cable for the mouse, though. Like, I don't know.
But I agree. Like, you could take the keyboard you could go from 2 wires to 1 wire if you could do that, right? And I think, if we advance the technology and you have a keyboard and your mouse, and maybe there's just kind of like your phone has support for this universal field as well, you can put it down. And
that'd be a nice future that will never exist.
But if you're doing RGB keyboard, like today's RGB keyboards, would draw way more power than that mouse.
Do they?
But yeah, because you're trying to think of how much lighting you're doing, like per key LED lighting, right? It's take the light in that mouse, which they actually in their interface, in the Logitech interface, they tell you how much power draw for each feature of the mouse.
Oh, really?
If you're worried, and it's not meant for this one because obviously it's on the mat and it should keep it charged, even at the most power draw possible, right?
Yep.
But it was meant for the 900 when it first came out. You could kind of tweak like, let me turn the light off, and it would tell you like 10 milliamps or something,
or even like adjusting the sensor tracking to be less power consumptive but not as responsive, not as much of a refresh.
And I mean the sensor on this is the mouse is pretty intelligent in that when you stop moving it goes into a lower power state, therefore your net charging is higher no matter what position you're in, right? Net is better. I think they said from a technical standpoint, like if going from 0 to 100%, if you had the mouse sitting on the pad, it's like a 14-hour charge time, right? From 0 to 100% plugged in, it was like 2 hours. So it gives you an idea of kind of what the rates are and what the differences are. But it doesn't matter how long it charges if it never drops. Yeah. Right, that's kind of the interesting part. So I do want to, before we move on to our news of the week, which there is plenty of, we have lots of Patreon stuff to go through here. Tyler Smith edited his pledge from $5 to $10. Tyler Smith, that's awesome. We received a new $10 pledge from MB67. MB67, that's awesome. We've got just
400.
That's right. Thank you. MB67.
The chat earlier wanted to know who was going to be number 404. So now it's 401.
Justin,
find that
Justin Gallucci is 401, $3.
Yeah,
Thank you, Justin, for that pledge.
Funny joke there, Ken.
Glob Bluth went from 420.
Job.
G-L-O-B.
Job.
Really?
Yes. It's a Arrested Development reference.
Okay.
We've been through this before.
420 to 690. Yeah, because he has pledged again. He upped it from 420 to 699. Thank you very much. Dimitri, where are the Josh Tech t-shirts? Edited their pledge from $12.99 to $13.99.
Someone has to design them first.
I did say I would read these names out, didn't I? A new pledge. What is this? 402?
I wasn't keeping track.
I think as a $5 pledge.
You're gonna read the name?
I gotta read it. It's from Fondle My Fart Box. And James Poire is a new pledge. That makes 403 for $3. Thank you, James. So there you go.
Nice.
Yeah, indeed. All right.
And now we've hit 404 and we'll never see another update.
Okay, let's get into the news of the week. So I was in Los Angeles, unfortunately, over the weekend for SIGGRAPH, but also to attend some AMD events. They had a tech day covering their RX Vega and their Threadripper parts. Honestly, a lot of the Threadripper stuff we already knew, the technical stuff, but we really didn't actually have clarification on any of the specs and stuff surrounding RX Vega. So now we know. We have the Radeon RX Vega 64 and the Radeon RX Vega 56, which are two distinct parts. The Vega 64 will be available in air-cooled and a liquid-cooled format. And you can see the specs here. And I actually want to, these aren't highlighting for some reason. I want to look at these and I want to make a comment about these boost clocks here. So in previous iterations, the AMD boost clock has always been essentially the maximum clock rate of the GPU, the peak clock state. In NVIDIA GPUs, the boost clock is the typical clock rate in a gaming scenario.
Like typical average, it would.
Typical average clock rate. You might have some games that run higher, you might have some games that run lower, but in general, they expect you to meet that. And in my experience, AMD or NVIDIA has always underestimated that number so that we're almost always over that clock speed. And so everything above that feels like free performance, right? Because you were quoted, as a 1080 Ti is rated at 1582 megahertz boost.
Those go way higher than 1500.
Yeah. Now with the Vega Frontier Edition, it was listed at 1600 megahertz, but we never hit 1600 megahertz on that card. On the air-cooled card, we never hit it.
It was always under.
Always under. It was like 1440 was kind of our average-ish clock. With the RX Vegas, AMD has finally gone the same route and gone with an average clock, like a typical gaming clock.
And that is the boost clock.
That is the boost clock. So you notice how it goes down to 1471 on the RX Vega 56, 1546 on the Vega 64.
Seems more realistic.
More realistic.
Yeah.
And, this may be a little bit, it's a little aggressive. Now, we still have to verify that they're going to meet these claims, but that's the intent. And then that also puts in perspective, like the RX Vega 64 Liquid has a boost clock listed of 1677, which actually puts it near, if that's accurate, near the performance of our highest overclocked settings on our water-cooled card Vega Frontier Edition. And that would be stock for the Vega 64 Liquid. So that would be impressive, right? All the other specs are the same, except these cards have 8 gigs, not 16 gigs of memory. Same TDP ranges, so they're really high, 345 watts for the Vega 64 Water, 295 watts for the Vega 64 Air, and 210 watts for the Vega 56, which is actually significantly better.
So that Liquid that a lot of people were, so the pricing, a lot of people were just kind of guessing that like it was going to be $400, $500, and $600 for the 56, 64, and then 64
the 56
Liquid.
Didn't really show up on the rumor mill until very recently, but yeah.
Yeah, but the Liquid is actually $200 more. Yeah,
so the pricing is super weird. Let's start with the Vega 64 Air, $499. That's exactly where I thought it should be.
Yeah.
After doing all the testing and seeing where it met and kind of hearing a little bit about where the clock speeds would be higher versus the Frontier Edition, $499 is the supposed MSRP of the GTX 1080. We are kind of coming down off the high of our mining operations, so we're starting to see prices. I think we saw, what do we see today for, Ken, like 509 or something like that, 519?
Yeah, I think so.
Pretty close. We're getting down there. So that's the right point. The Vega 56 at $399 puts it direct competition with the GTX 1070. And then you'll see that what I've listed there is $699 for the air-cooled. And we'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, it's odd. So those are the 3 cards. There's going to be the kind of plain black shroud, or as Vega 64 standard. You got the Vega 64 limited edition, which is still air-cooled, but has basically the design of the Frontier Edition, but silver with red pixel on it, which I think looks awesome.
Yeah.
They told me they're not sampling these to media though, which is very disappointing. They're going to send us the regular standard one. Which is very disappointing for me, I'm not going to lie. And then the Rega 64 liquid cooled looks like the Vega, Frontier Edition water cooled, silver, little bit lighter color silver it looks like, and then the same red pixel. So that's what you get for styling.
That limited edition should just be like the card.
So it's significantly more expensive to build that, right? And they're already kind of cost constrained with HBM memory and all that. So
but it just looks so freaking sweet.
I'm totally with you. Yeah. Now, here's where things get confusing. So they didn't really show much in gaming performance. Our reviews will come out on the 14th of August, so we'll stay tuned for that. They announced these Radeon packs, which a little inside baseball, like when they were talking to us about it the first time, everybody was confused. Like every media person I talked to after the fact had a different opinion about what they actually were trying to do and what the results were going to be. And it wasn't until the next day when we finally got clarification on some things. So this one might be a better slide to look at. So at the bottom, the base graphics cards, the Vega 64 air-cooled and the standard design, $499. Vega 56, the standard design, $399. Boom. End that. Okay. Now, look at the middle one at the top section, $599. the Radeon Black pack is the Vega 64 air-cooled card. And it's listed at $599. And it will be available in either the limited edition or the standard edition.
So until the limited edition runs out.
Limited edition will run out, and then they'll replace it with the standard edition.
The only way to get the limited edition
is through this Radeon pack.
What looks like, and
it's
the pack,
$100 more.
And the pack is $100 more.
You pay $100. So here's what it is: you're paying $100 more for the graphics card.
Yep.
And in return, you will receive 2 games.
Okay.
In the U.S., it's going to vary by region. In the U.S., it's Wolfenstein 2 and Prey.
Okay.
All right. Take that for what you will. And then you get the option to buy a Ryzen 7 motherboard and processor with a $100 discount, and a Samsung FreeSync 3440 by 1440 ultra-wide monitor for $200 off.
Together?
You can do either or both.
Or both. So it's potentially $300 off.
It's potentially $300 discount and the 2 games, whatever you happen to value those at.
Is it just like a code or something they give you, or just
when you go to Newegg, it will be a bundle page.
Oh, okay.
But it's an optional bundle, basically meaning you can just buy the card for $599.
Right. But it has to be like through Newegg specifically, or like
I don't think Amazon does bundles, so I think it's just Newegg. Only people that are doing these.
The concern is like, the display is sold out. You know what I mean?
My understanding is that these packs will change over time. They plan to offer these packs at least through the end of the year, and there may be other monitors that come into the to the option. They're just basically starting with this.
So I noticed the liquid cooled is on that list, and it's at the normal price.
So when I did the spec table above, the only way you can get a Vega 64 liquid is in this pack.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
For now, for the foreseeable future.
Right.
And I don't think they'll ever sell it at just $599. Would be my guess.
Huh.
Right. So it's a $200 premium to go from the Vega 64 air cooled, if you want just the card, to the liquid cooled. That's a significant price increase. Obviously, the performance delta is not going to be worth $200. It really comes down to, do you like the styling? Do you like the design? Do you want the best thing that AMD has? Right. Regardless of whether or not you want anything to do with the pack or bundles.
Sure.
And then the same thing is offered for the Vega 56. $100 more gets you the option to buy this other hardware. Now, there's a cynical way and a non-cynical way to look at these packs. The cynical way is that AMD knows they're going to be maybe quantity constrained to some degree, and for the limited edition, they can get $100 more, even though there's no performance difference.
Right.
To the standard.
It just looks different.
It just looks better. And, say, well, you paid $100 more, but you had the option to get all this hardware discounted.
Sure.
And you got these 2 games.
Okay.
The cynical way is like, well, they're really just charging you $100 more just because they can. I mean, you don't know, right? So
since it's the only way to get that limited
way
edition.
to get that limited edition card. Yeah. They kind of explained it for 2 different reasons. Like, they thought AMD's reasons for building these packs were twofold. One, they wanted to get people into the FreeSync ecosystem. They wanted to get monitors at a discount to them. They wanted to get Ryzen hardware to a discount to them, getting people in the AMD ecosystem so they will continue to buy AMD Radeon cards the next generation.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
They also kind of were trying to figure out a way to de-incentivize miners from buying the cards. Right? And so the idea of this bundle came up. Now, in my opinion...
How does that de-incentivize them when you can still buy just the card?
Correct. When they originally told us this plan, my thought was that you had to buy the whole bundle in order to get these cards at the higher price. That was like the
only way to get them?
Right. And I thought, okay, well, that will definitely de-incentivize miners, but it will also de-incentivize anybody who has a monitor they already like and or a processor and motherboard they already like.
So if these
it would mean more cards were available for gamers.
But here's the thing. What if these end up being listed, say, on Newegg as 2 separate sets of SKUs?
They will.
Okay, so potentially you would have the Vega 64 air-cooled just gets sold out.
Yep.
And then the only one available is the $599 bundle.
Wouldn't that be weird?
Well,
wouldn't that be weird if maybe only 10 of the base ones showed up, but 110 showed up of the
that's where the cynical thing comes in again, I guess.
I get it.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like, the 2 games are in there, so it's not like maybe those are. It depends on if you've played those games.
Are not worth $100.
They're not. They're maybe worth $50 total.
I mean, Wolfenstein's worth.
No, I'm just
$60
about
because it isn't out yet, but Prey has been out for months now at this point.
Yeah. So that's the cynical way to look at it. If there is a time where there are no $499 models, but there are plenty of $599 models, then you start to go with, okay, that's kind of crappy. But here's what I think is actually smart on AMD's part is they can hedge their bets both ways, because they think about having to go through this launch process and building out this product portfolio with all the mining stuff going on.
Yeah.
You literally have no idea what you should charge for this card.
Right.
Because if we were in a situation of just 2 or 3 weeks ago where everything was double the price it should be in terms of video cards, they would be stupid to have a card for $499 when they could charge $5 or $699.
Yep.
But they want to make it so that
so now if one sells out right away,
back to $499.
Yeah.
Right. So now the market's kind of settling back down. It seems more likely that if AMD were smart enough and they're paying attention, that they go, okay, you know, they can do this dynamically, probably with Newegg. Hey, you know, let's take 50% of that pack bundle SKU and move it down to the $499 SKU and sell it that way.
Yep.
And they can adjust how much they want that extra $100 based on market demand at any given time. So it's actually a pretty interesting way to do it. It's also maybe helpful for somebody like Newegg if you can convince them to hold more cards back to sell to gamers in some way, because you might be able to get them to also buy other hardware, which raises your total selling price, which is better for them, for their profit margins, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
So it's confusing, but I think it will end up being okay. Yeah. And once we get past the limited edition thing, because I think people are going to want to have that one. It's only supposed to last like through September. I'm really sad I'm not getting one. I'll probably have to send out some emails this week to make sure I get one. I wouldn't be surprised
if it ended up like coming back later or something. Like just
it's like the McRib.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever aluminum comes back.
The reason limited edition exists, I think, is they want to have like a premium version around until their partner boards are ready. So like Asus announced, you know, their Strix, ROG Strix version of it, and it's going to be $50 more and have the same clocks as same clocks as the liquid cooled card.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was a partner version of the board, but it was just that. It was just the limited edition.
I don't know. I don't think they'd be able to do that. Now, I know we talked about this for a while. Real quick on the performance stuff, they didn't show any performance data. They showed stuff like this, right?
This pisses me off.
It's expected.
I know.
Right? So,
I should be used to it by now. It still pisses me off.
Why?
It's just...
They didn't show average frame rates. They didn't show...
Give me the dang average frame rate. Like, is it
but
seriously?
They want to sell cards at a higher margin.
Hey, guess what? The average frame rate is lower than the other guys, so they're going to figure out a metric in which they win.
I mean...
And that's clearly the only reason you do this, right?
Yeah.
They didn't say that, but... So the argument is this, is that hey, you should be buying one of these nice FreeSync monitors. And as long as you're within this range of 48 to 100, you're fine. Every time your 99th percentile minimum frame rate goes below 48, you have a bad experience because you start to tear or judder or whatever.
I mean, at least they're doing a 99th percentile minimum as opposed to...
Scott Wasson would have nothing else, I'm sure.
Well, as opposed to just saying the minimum.
Oh, yeah, no.
That would be horrible.
The minimum frame rate is dumb.
Yeah.
I think we all understand that.
Although it's supposed to be the 1%. Not the 99%, but still.
It's the 99th percentile minimum.
Yeah.
So it's the bottom 1% averaged, or more or less.
Yeah.
Right. And so basically, as you would expect for the AMD provided data, the RX Vega 64 beats the GTX 1080, right? In these games, meaning that more games run inside that range than in the GTX 1080. They don't talk about how high they go or anything like that. I've heard some discussions with some people that, you know, they picked a monitor. First of all, there's a couple reasons this is stupid.
If you look at that graphic, they have like that's actually meant to look like a FreeSync monitor, kind of, but it's the band, it's the range of the FreeSync monitor. And they're just going, oh look, Vega 64 sits within that band.
Its minimums are within that band.
But G-Sync monitors don't have a bottom end on that band.
That's correct. It's all based on the idea that. And it's not also a coincidence that they picked monitors that don't have low frame rate compensation, because even their own LFC tech would
doesn't have a bottom end of the band.
Would negate the bottom end of the thing.
Right.
Yes, so I agree with you. Because then on the 4K monitor, they chose a 40 to 60, which NVIDIA G-Sync monitors that are 4K don't have a bottom end. I don't know if there are any 4Ks, the FreeSync, that have LFC, because I don't think you can have that big of a range. You have to have at least 2x range.
Yep.
But... So I agree. It's kind of an oddly staged performance metric. I don't even want to know how long they sat in rooms trying to decide how to do this and how to present it. So we'll leave it at that. We're going to do our own testing soon enough. We won't have to worry about it. So that's it. That's all we know. That's all we're going to know until August 14th, there were some rumors or some potentially leaked GTX 1070. I'm sorry. Yeah, GTX 1070 versus Vega 56 benchmarks today. But I talked to somebody else who I trust a whole lot who said that wasn't likely to be the case. Everything all right over there? All right. And so I don't really want to dive too much into those leaked things because they had the RX 56 being significantly faster than the 1070, which is what AMD told me it would be. I just don't know if I am ready to really believe in that yet. I want to. And apparently the RX 56 is supposed to have a lot of overclocking headroom too. So
you know what's absolutely amazing about this?
No.
The 1070 and 1080 have been around for 1 year and 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
I mean, look, if you look at it from an architectural observation point, right? It's not great, right? It's 18 months after NVIDIA released 1080.
Yeah. I mean, at least they caught up.
It loses significantly more power.
That's another problem. Yeah.
It is
not drastically cheaper.
It's not going to be less expensive, right?
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, the 1080 did launch at $100 more, right? It came down to $499.
So, I mean, think of this on the flip side. As long as the 1080's been out, like, couldn't NVIDIA stand to do, like, another price cut if they wanted to on that thing? By
they
now.
felt the need.
I mean, it's all, I mean, could they versus would they is very different, right?
Yeah, so, sure. I'm just saying, though, like, they probably have enough margin at this point.
NVIDIA has more margins than AMD. Correct. So if they wanted to do that. But I honestly don't think NVIDIA has any desire to do that.
Sure. They'll probably just leave it where it's at. I'm just, you know.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think they're super worried about it. You know, and if something changes and it does, then yes, they do have the ability to move. And we just don't know how close Volta is, right?
Yeah.
We just don't know.
January.
Is that what you're hearing?
January.
We'll see. And in which case, I don't know what to tell AMD. If
they got 5 months
to
Navi. Make hay.
Yeah, wait for Navi. I will say coming out of this, I have a better feeling about Vega than I did, right? Because they priced it correctly. Power consumption is bad, but whatever. If the performance per dollar matches, you'll find plenty of people that will want to buy something like this.
Sure.
Right? FreeSync monitors are cheaper than G-Sync monitors. I get it. So like,
yeah.
Like
I mean, when you think of the whole ecosystem,
there are other reasons. I just, I don't like it when vendors take away like the primary comparison points and try to.
I mean, as long as you're okay with that one monitor, that Samsung panel, then like it's a net $100 off.
Something else I would really warn people. I hate saying this because it's not actually for sale yet. That monitor looks like it might be $200 discounted already on Amazon compared to the Newegg price.
Yeah.
So just when you're buying these things, keep an eye out for that, right? So don't just trust that you're getting some kind of $200 discount because AMD says you are. Go see if you could buy that monitor on Amazon for $200 cheaper, and then buy the $100 cheaper version of the video card, right?
Yeah.
Like, just
and something else to consider is that like a couple of weeks ago, I linked that 29-inch ultra wide. And that's a FreeSync capable, and I believe it goes from like 42 to 75. And that would be a great combination with like the Vega 56.
Yeah.
To push the pixels, and for only $229, and I think after mail-in rebates, it's like $199. And for an IPS panel that has that kind of range, it's not fantastic, but boy, it's a big upgrade from anybody's 60 hertz panel that is not FreeSync.
Yeah,
I agree. Like, yeah, we'll see. Like I said, August 14th is coming up. You know what's coming up before August 14th?
August 13th?
August 13th?
August 10th.
12th? Oh, 10th.
If I let you guys keep going, we would have hit it eventually.
Okay.
So the other thing they talked about was Threadripper. We know almost all of the details about Threadripper, except they actually showed off and announced a new one. So we knew about the 16 core. We knew about the 12 core. They also announced a Threadripper 1900X, which is an 8-core 16 thread part. Now you might be thinking, well, Ryan, the Ryzen 7 1800X and all the Ryzen 7 parts are 8-core 16 threads. And I'd be like, you're correct.
Right.
However, so this is 2 die, so it's going to be 4 cores on each die. Right? 1 full CCX each die will be enabled.
Okay.
It's not like 1 die totally disabled or whatever, because you still have access to quad channel memory. You still have 64 lanes of PCIe. And if you look at this, the base clock is actually 3.8 gigahertz with a boost clock of 4, not 2 gigahertz. So even at fully loaded 8 cores, if you look at, actually go down here, the 1800X was 3.6 base clock, and the new 1900X is 200 megahertz higher than that. So it's going to be faster than the 1800X. Pretty much across the board. You got 4-channel memory, and it's $50 more than the MSRP, maybe $100 more if you consider like the street price of the 1800X. This is basically AMD's answer to the 8-core, what's that Intel part, the 7820X, I think, that came out. I think that's $599 or something like that as well, which we did just get in to. So it'll be interesting to compare these. The 1900X is going to be for sale on August 31st, not August 10th. So the other parts that they kind of came up with late in the cycle will be available after the fact. Otherwise, you know, they basically went through and kind of did some other comparisons in terms of core counts, caches, DDR memory channels. Like if you compare the Threadripper 1900X to the Core i7 7820X, which is the 8-core Skylake X
equivalent core count.
Equivalent core count for DDR memory channels, but that one, the 114% more PCIe lanes is one that stands out, right? And it's 8% cheaper to boot. Yeah. So, you know, the Core i7 7820X has 28 lanes of PCIe, and the Threadripper 1900X will have 64. Now, whether or not you need all those lanes for any other purpose,
that's true,
is up to you individually. But it does give you a whole lot more flexibility, and it means that some of the X299 boards have this complication of, depending what processor you have, determines what PCIe slots are enabled, and it goes down even further with Kaby Lake X kind of coming in and only offering 16 lanes.
Yep.
But with Threadripper, none of that exists, right? Yes, you have 8 cores instead of 16 with the 1900X, but you get all the PCI slots, all of the M.2 slots, anything that would exist for their $1,000 processor is turned on for their $549 processor, which I think is actually super nice. Like, it's just a very consumer-friendly way to do things. They talked about performance per watt a little bit. And like I said, on the availability, if you these are available for pre-order, the 1950 and 1920. If you do want to pre-order them, I highly encourage you to go to PCPro.com and click through on these links so that you can pre-order them. They are $999 for the 1950X and $799 for the 1920X. And I think, what did it say? You can get professional installation for $79.09. So obviously keep that in mind.
What you might want for this process.
Does somebody come out to your house and install this?
The insertion is a little bit different than we're used to.
It is very. I'll have a video on that for you tomorrow, but not before.
Yes, tomorrow.
So X399 motherboards are also up there for pre-order. We talk about the cooling design. Also, one other interesting fact. This is a screenshot from, I don't know how to pronounce his name. What's the overclocker's name? DeBauer. There's an 8 in there, so I didn't know if that was supposed to be a B or not. He actually delidded a Threadripper processor, and then they had to take the video down, blah, blah, blah. It's soldered on, so overclockers will like that. Enthusiasts will be a fan of that for whatever it's worth. Notice that there's 4 dies. 2 of those dies are empty silicon.
Yep.
There are no transistors on them. And the 2 that are active die are diagonal from each other. I don't know which 2 are which, but they assured me that every Threadripper...
Look at where the blank capacitors are.
Blank capacitors.
Yeah.
Oh.
So look where there are blank capacitors, and you know
around the outer edge.
Oh, I see. Yep.
You know which ones are active and which ones are not.
So this one is a dead one, and this one is a dead one. Okay, hey, good,
you don't need caps.
Good eyes. Good eyes. So the reason they did this, was because it saves a little bit of like socket design and layout design, but also apparently the issue was the heat spreader would collapse around the edges.
Yeah, there'd be nothing to hold it.
There's nothing to hold the rest of the heat spreader up. They didn't want to do
over like a taco.
They didn't want to do 2 parallel or 2 in line. So there you go. Interesting things you learn.
Well, if they were missing, there'd be double the force on the other 2 dies.
The other 2, correct.
Yeah, so
maybe we'd have that whole Thunderbird cracking die thing.
Yeah,
back.
right. I don't think you
I'm
want
really curious. Obviously we're in the middle of our Threadripper testing. I I'm really curious what the success of this platform is going to be. Like I kind of think it's going to be really popular, but I'm just not sure because $7.99 and $9.99 are pretty high prices.
Yeah.
When you get down to $5.49 for that other Threadripper, it's much more amicable. But then you're into the whole debate of like, you know, how much differences are there in these 1800X and, you know, what are the motherboard price differences and all that type of stuff. So it'll be interesting. The other thing that came out that Josh wrote this story up right as the Capsaicin event was about to begin. This is the smiling face of one Christopher Hook holding up. What is that? That's looks like a business card, maybe.
Vega Nano.
Oh,
postcard.
Vega Nano. So I mean, this shouldn't shock anybody.
This was 2 hours before the actual unveiling.
Yeah. So
and he was smiling and
so the guy
excited to show.
Here's a funny story. And I apologize. Oh, Drew, his name's on the tweet. I saw it. You and we were talking about it in our Slack channel, and Nate from Legit Reviews and Marco from Ha Hardware were sitting next to me. We were kind of talking about it, and I was like, well, there goes that, right? Because we honestly didn't know that existed yet.
Yep.
And what happened was Drew, this guy from smallformfactor.net, was behind Chris in the security line, and you had to go through a metal detector. So Chris had to take the card out of his pocket to give to the security guy so he could walk through the metal detector.
Did he catch him just...
And then the guy behind him said, hey, what's that? And he like it's easy to tell what it is, right? And so Chris finally said, you know, just being who he is, it's like whatever.
Look at that
held up,
shit-eating grin.
Yeah, I know. That is severe, right? So he held it up and was able to get that.
He just
so
had
that
it
was
in his jacket.
Yeah, he was just he. I think they
So
had to
are you
go
happy
back
to
and
see
get
me,
it.
or is that a Vega Nano in your pocket?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a funny story. They didn't really say anything about specs on it.
There's so much blank PCB space on the air-cooled Vega.
I mean, that's exactly what happened with Fiji, right? Like,
yeah,
That feat.
like it's not hard. It's not a it's not a magical feat to just make that a smaller form factor card.
No. But that's the benefit of an HBM2 memory implementation, right? Is you can make a smaller card. No idea what its power consumption is, what its performance is relative to the other products. Is it going to be a 64 CU card? Is it going to be a 56 CU card? I never even mentioned that, by the way. The Vega 64 stands for 64 compute units are enabled, giving you 4096 stream processors. And guess what the Vega 56 is? 56 compute units for 3584 stream processors.
My guess is that's going to be a 150 watt part, all 64.
So the original Nano had problems in that it had extremely variable clock speeds.
Yeah, it throttled a lot.
But
it was temperature.
Resulted in bad performance.
It resulted in variable performance.
Yes.
It because its clock speeds went in and out of different states so quickly in order to try to keep
it actually
power
affected.
consumption.
It was noticeable. Like if you looked at a frame rate plot.
Yeah. You could tell.
Like it affected it significantly.
You could tell. Yeah. Jump up the fan speed and keep the thermals where they need to be, and you can fix all that. But out of the box, it wasn't perfect. So hopefully they're learning from that. 150 watts would be really low for this, considering the Vega 56 is 210.
Yeah. They could just be running it at much lower clocks.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I'll throw it all out.
I will say AMD has been talking about things called TGP, which is total graphics power.
What?
Which is the power draw of the GPU and memory, like that, only that module.
Okay.
Which I don't like. There was a video.
What else is there?
Total board power.
Which is just the efficiency of the VRMs.
Correct.
Like that's all that's left.
And there are display controllers and stuff you have and all that type of stuff too. But I mean, it's enough that I think the TGP of the Vega air-cooled is 250, while the total board power is like 300.
Oh.
Right, like it's 50 watts. Like there's a significant delta there. That's why they're talking about TGP as opposed to TDP, because it just makes them look a little bit better.
TDP would be
or
the entire board.
total scenario
board
power either.
Okay. Yeah. SDP.
What the Intels.
Yeah, that was luckily they kind of backed away from some of that. So, but hey, I don't no idea when it's coming out. They didn't say anything. The only time they even brought it out on stage was to give one to Tim Sweeney, which was awkward.
Really?
Yeah, I know, shocking. So there you go. Vega Nano coming. What are the bets?
Was it less awkward when the guy gave that other dude the $50,000 camera?
That wasn't awkward. That was awesome. Except that the president of Red Camera was on stage, and he said during the show, it was actually a really good story. AMD came to him and said, we can make it so that you can do 8K video, like scrub and manipulate 8K video in real time without frame dropping.
Yeah. Okay.
And they brought him the Radeon Pro SSG.
SSG.
The card has the 2 terabyte NVMe SSDs on them.
Yep.
And so they brought it to him, and they basically proved that they could do it.
Okay. And
he was wowed, right? And he said that's the only reason he showed up is because he said, if you can come here and do that, I'll come to your event. And this was like 3 days before the event. And they showed it, and he said, so now I'm here. And he said, and he gave them a camera. He gave the camera to Raja first. He said, this is for actually giving an F about the community that you work with. Yeah. Right? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Only didn't say F.
Well, that's a nice gesture then.
Yeah, it was. And then Raja gave the SSG and the Red camera to the
Tim Sweeney.
No.
Weird, huh?
The Bahubali.
Yes.
Director.
The director of that movie, which is now the highest grossing film in India. And I believe it's Raja's
He was like an
cousin?
EP. He was like an executive producer or something on that.
Raja was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think it's his family, it's his cousin.
I don't know.
Or something. I hope I'm not getting that so super far off, but
there's a racist joke in here that we need to avoid.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm not trying to say, oh, look, they're both Indian, so they're probably related. Like, I believe.
Why'd you just say those words?
I'm just saying. I'm saying I didn't think that, but I think it's his cousin. I was gonna say brother, but I think it's his cousin.
Okay,
it's cousin. Yeah,
I think that's right because they, Radeon, AMD Radeon Pro was like part of the, like in the credits and all that kind of stuff too.
I sat through a seemingly very long presentation at GDC during their capsaicin about the VR experience tied to that movie, and I did not know what was going on.
Yep, agreed. All right, let's run through the rest of this news, guys, pretty quick. HTC announced a standalone VR headset.
Wow, that's awesome. Why haven't I heard of this?
A standalone VR headset is one that is not connected to a PC, but also does not need a phone. Okay. It has all of its own hardware.
So a built-in phone.
It is a built-in phone, right?
I'll just take the phone, permanently install it.
This one, the one that they announced, which I believe is accurately called the HTC Vive standalone VR headset. I believe that is the name.
Yeah, better name.
Is only going to the China market.
Okay.
But they did announce essentially the same thing at Google I/O, where they announced this with the Daydream technology kind of integration, right? Now, what's cool about this, there's two things that interest me about this. One is, so it is like a built-in smartphone, except you get rid of some of the smartphone limitations.
Yeah.
You can have a bigger battery.
Yeah.
You can have a fan. Right?
Oh, that's true too.
To cool it down so your face doesn't get as sweaty. You can run the GPU and you can run the clocks higher because you're not as concerned about thermals and heat and battery life. Mm-hmm. You can adjust the OS so you don't have to worry about background processes as much. There's a whole lot that you can do in this. You can add better sensors. You can add better cameras. You're not limited on where the camera placement can be because it's attached to the phone.
You can get 90 FPS out of the display.
Yeah.
Which many phones
you can use different displays. Now, to be fair, these are going to be slightly lower cost when they start out. So I expect more in terms of battery life and thermals, but maybe not as much on added performance necessarily. But all the rumors are that Oculus, they're going to announce a standalone headset very soon. HTC has now announced the standalone headset. Who else did? Lenovo, I think, announced a standalone headset. But the other thing I find interesting about this is that HTC and Oculus, if they actually do it, were the big names in the PC world for VR gaming. So does it mean anything that rather than announce a new attached PC-driven VR headset, that they're much more interested in these now? Does it tell us about the state of the VR industry on the PC?
I think they at least need to test the waters on that, right? Even if the product, even if it doesn't do fantastic, like
the barrier to entry is lower to make essentially an Android phone integrate into a headset than a complete ecosystem.
Yeah, you don't need a PC that's strong enough to drive and et cetera, right? You don't need all that other stuff.
I think the important part for this to work also is with the 6DoF technology, which is 6 degrees of freedom.
Yeah.
Meaning that it has inside-out tracking, right? So you've got...
It tracks based on what's around it.
Correct. It's using cameras and sensors to track what's around it, so you don't have to have lighthouses or cameras in place externally to you to keep track of you.
Yep.
Right? So it's much more compute intensive to do that, but it gives you way more freedom in terms of where you can do it. You can go out into the, if you're out of town or you're outside or you're in the kitchen or whatever it is, wherever you go, in theory, if this all works correctly, it would just work. So I think that's pretty neat. And hopefully we'll have some of these by the end of the year. Also, as a side note, I didn't put it in here, the Microsoft mixed reality headsets, which were made by what? Ken, Acer and...
HP,
you think?
I think so.
Yep.
I ordered the Acer one, and they charged my credit card, so I assume it's shipping soon. And I'm going to be honest with you, I have no idea what the hell they're supposed to do.
They're dev
That's
kits,
the $300
right
one?
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's sort of like a reduced VR. It doesn't do AR. It won't do overlays. As I knock my microphone, but it will let you interact with stuff. So, like, apparently one of the demos, they had a house, and the windows were your email program, or another one. So, I had flashbacks of Microsoft Bob and had to turn the video off.
I think there's a lot of...
Seems interesting.
I think there's a lot of potential for VR, or probably more likely AR, like Windows interfaces. Like if I had a comfortable thing that I was wearing all the time and I walked around and wherever I was at, I could pull up my email type of thing. And if there was some good interaction method for it, that would be good. I'm not sure how much more even sitting in front of a mouse and a keyboard, you basically get infinite screen real estate if the resolution were worth a damn. But that's the key component there. That was funny when I moderated a panel at SIGGRAPH on Sunday, and the Google Daydream guys, one of his bigger complaints was that you need more resolution for these headsets, not because of the graphics, because your mind can kind of fuzz those a little bit, right? But reading text, and heads-up displays, and reading emails and stuff like that in VR is very poor because of the jagged edges that it provides.
Yeah.
So
the only thing that makes it better, in my opinion, is when you do the oversampling thing, or I forget what it's called. You basically do 1.5x, like...
Oh, sure. But I mean, at the end of the day, you still only have so many pixels on the screen.
I know. It just helps the aliasing a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What else was in the news? Oh, this was interesting. So Wolfenstein 2, which is one of the Vega 64 pack-in games, if you go with the Radeon pack, will apparently use FP16 math for some shaders. Josh, do you understand what that means? Do you understand?
Well, do you remember back in the day in DX9? And correct me if I'm wrong, but there was partial precision and then full precision.
Yep.
Video supported FP16 and FP32, while ATI was FP24, which is still considered partial precision, but better precision than FP16.
Okay.
And then everybody kind of migrated to FP32 as the basic and standard. Correct? And now we've gone back to the place where some people said, you know what, we don't need FP32 for everything. Why don't we do FP16 and get a lot more performance?
I will say that the verbiage for this doesn't make me feel good. Like the verbiage is like, well, you can use FP16 when it doesn't have to look as good, or it doesn't look as good and it doesn't really matter as much, right? And you think that that's not why you get into PC gaming, but in reality, like that's all of gaming is a compromise of that kind, right? Otherwise, we'd all everything is ray traced 100% of the time. So I like the idea. They showed a couple of things. They showed a couple of things at the tech day where, hey, this shader, when we've converted it over to FP16 instead of FP32, runs 25% faster. It's only one part of many shaders in this application. So, that might, if we do this, we've done this to 4 or 5 shaders and it maybe nets us 3, 4, 7% total performance, right? So there's some real validity to that argument, but it does require developers to program and target specifically for it. Just like primitive shaders, a new feature of Vega requires developers to target specifically for it. So we'll see how much this really matters in time, because this is not a feature that Pascal has, right? They do FP16 math, but they don't do it at 200% of FP32. Josh, you don't have to know what the rates are. I don't remember.
Not on Pascal, but yeah, I mean, if a modern group of GPUs that didn't support FP16, I mean, they would get, it has a compatibility mode essentially. You get an FP16 command or instruction. It takes up the same amount of space as an FP32.
Okay.
And so it's just a lot of wasted resources.
Yeah.
But it still can support that functionality. But in this, they can actually split an FP32 kind of, I guess, pipe, you want to call it,
correct,
to be able to do 2x16.
Yeah, there was a story that AnandTech did that tested FP32, they tested FP64 and 16 in comparison to FP32, and on GP104, FP16 was 1/64th the speed of FP32.
Jeez.
So you would never do that. Because getting lower precision at 1/64th the performance is a bad deal.
Yep.
But double it, and it's like 1/32.
That's right. Which is the equivalent, which is the exact performance they get of FP64. So you could do double precision at the same speed. GP100 does do double precision, or does do half precision double pack math at 2-to-1. So there you go. Obviously, this is something that we'll probably see in NVIDIA's next generation architecture. So if there are advantages that crop up from this, they will have it at some point as well. Okay. Is this our last story?
Could be.
I feel like I've heard the term BiCS before.
Yep. Talked about that last week.
So what is Western Digital saying about BiCS 3 that Toshiba did not say?
Yeah, so like a month ago,
BiCS 3?
Toshiba announced, hey, we're going to do 4 bits per cell on Flash. And then on the same day, Western Digital said, hey, we're doing 96 layer.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Which is actually BiCS 4. Okay. Anyway.
Lighters.
So now what we get is a TLC or a QLC announcement from Western Digital, kind of the same as what the Toshiba announcement was.
These two companies work together on this technology, correct?
Their BiCS Flash is between both of them, and technically SanDisk, because SanDisk is
part of Western Digital now.
Yeah. So, it's acronym soup here. So you have TLC, which is 3 bits per cell, which in BiCS terminology is called X3.
Sure.
And then 4 bits per cell is X4.
Okay.
Right? And they have BiCS 3 and BiCS 4, which is 64 layer and 96 layer.
So you can combine.
The marketing people.
You can combine these two.
Marketing people
named NAND stuff should be shot.
Okay. So the announcement was to say, hey, we're announcing that on our 64 layer stuff.
Yeah.
Right? The slightly older now stuff, not the newly announced stuff.
96 stuff, yeah.
We're pushing that to 4 bits per cell.
Okay. Yep.
And what that nets us capacity wise is 768 gigabits per die, which is 96 gigabytes. It's 96 gigabytes per each die that's inside. Now realize
on the 64 or on the 96 layer?
On the 64 layer.
Okay. I'm with you.
Okay.
I got it. I'm with you. I'm sure the guys at home are too.
It was a little bit confusing in the press release, and actually some of the sites that picked up this post actually wrote wrong about it, because the TLC version of this on BiCS 3 on the 64 layer was 512 gigabit, which is 64 gig, right? Gigabytes. So to go from one to the other was a 50% increase in capacity. But going from 3 bits per cell to 4 bits per cell does not give you 50% more.
No, it should be 25%.
No, it's 33%.
Oh, yeah. Yep, you're right.
Right?
Going the other way would be 25% lower.
Yeah. So it's 33% increase. So where'd the other 17% increase come from? Well, they would just have to have reworked how like there's more cells basically.
Oh.
So it's not the same exact die, and they flipped some switch and they made it go.
Because we were sitting here, you and I were having this discussion across our desks about how does this math work out, and the answer was they changed it.
That's the only physical way to do that.
Okay.
Like it's just it just doesn't work any way other than that.
I get it.
So it was good that they gave us some numbers because there were no capacities per die in the Toshiba release a month ago. They just said, hey, 4 bits per cell, official.
Right. And
that was basically it, right? So now we have some numbers to go with it, so that's good. It's almost 100 gigabytes per die in an SSD. Now realize SSDs typically, when you look at an SSD with like chip packages on it, like there could be 1 die in there, but there could be up to 4 dies in there. Some companies even go higher than that. They try not to, but typical SSD could have several packages. Each package can have 4 dies inside of it. Typically is the max. So that just adds up quick, right? Like for not that many packages on.
Yeah. Is it? Oh wait.
What?
Is it 10 cents per gigabyte?
None of that's here. However, I will say that this change, since there had to have been something else causing the increase, in other words, more cells, that does mean the dies are going to have to be slightly larger. You follow?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't just magically reduce the price by 50%. You know what I mean? Because like it's you have less of these per wafer. Anyway, so having the numbers from that and having these other announcements that all happen in parallel, like there's a hypothetical you can kind of go into, and that is, well, what if you did the 4 bits per cell on the 96 layer? Right. Which they hinted at the end of their release. They're like, hey, we're doing this on BiCS3 now. We're going to do it on BiCS4 in the future. Basically, is what they said, right? They didn't give us numbers for that, but I mean, you can do math, right? You can just be like, okay, well, what if you just went from 64 layers to 96 layers with all the other numbers being the same, right? 144 gig per die. Like that's more than
Will that
be 10 cents a gig?
No,
I don't
7 cents a gig.
Ooh,
I mean, yeah,
a new standard to reach for. I like it.
Yeah, and if you had not that they would necessarily produce this, but like you can make a package with a 16 die stack in it.
Sure.
And if you did that, it would be 2.3 terabytes.
Yeah.
In one
package.
That's cool.
Will it be?
Well, it still won't be 10 cents a gig.
That's still $2,300. Is that no?
For what? I wasn't paying attention.
10 cents per gig at 2.3 terabytes.
Yeah.
$230. That's why it's a ridiculous metric.
$230.
Yeah.
And that does seem kind of crazy when you say it out loud.
And every time we go down this road of, hey, 4 bits per cell, oh my goodness, the endurance and the reliability and everything just has to go down the tubes, right? The slide that I keep repeating in some of these posts, it doesn't say it flat out in the slide, but where are you at?
I'm on the slide.
Oh yeah. So there's these numbers on the bottom there of the slide, and what they're trying to show you is like...
Yes! Exclamation point!
No. They're trying to show you like the margin. So like on the left, they're showing you, okay, if you had planar flash memory that was non-3D versus this 3D stuff, like what does your margin do? So for like MLC, it went from like 1 to 6. So basically they're saying like you can store 6 times the number of electrons, roughly.
Okay.
Right? When you move to this in the BiCS format of this 3D flash, right? So since you're going to such a high margin, you can get away with going to 4 bits per cell and still have a reasonable margin.
I see.
Right. Reasonable amount, so that if you did have the same amount of leakage from either technology, right, you'd still be better off. Obviously.
Got to control that.
Well,
Got to control that.
But for the most part, I mean, you're going to have to, this is not going to be meant for like some enthusiast SSD. It's going to be meant for more of your, mainstream kind of things when it comes out, right?
Gotcha.
When, it's not meant to, you can't just hammer away at this flash and do like random writes all day long. It's just not going to last that long.
All right. Before we get into our picks of the week, I do see that our good buddy Anthony Pettit is in the chat room. He is the one who brought us such amazing thumbnails as last week's podcast thumbnail.
Yes.
RS360.
Right.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it looks like based on
the church one, that was a classic.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
How about the CD-ROM?
He hurt his wrist.
Which wrist?
His photoshopping wrist.
His
I think it's his
photoshopping
left wrist.
Is he left-handed?
I don't know.
Maybe.
I mean, he's in the chat. I'm sure he'll answer. I just wanted to say sorry about whatever happened. I'm sure it was Josh's fault in some capacity.
I'm sure it happened
Probably.
while he was trying to do,
He was probably trying to do a Photoshop so quickly
Yeah.
in order to get a funny picture up of us that spasms.
It was so hideous that he went
TV fell on his arm.
put his
hand, went to smack his head.
Words aren't escaping me. Just move on.
All
It's
right,
fine.
fair. That's fine. We can do that. Let's get into our hardware and software picks of the week. Mine is a subset of one of the products we talked about already, the Logitech G903. I've long been a proponent of the G900. I really liked that mouse.
Yeah.
You can actually pick up the G900 for like $110 today, I guess.
Is that because the 903 came out at $150?
No, I mean Logitech products just kind of they just do that, right?
Yeah,
They'll eventually come down off their MSRP a little bit. I'm sure this is part of it, but so if you,
it's a really good design.
I really like it.
I mean, it's
ambidextrous, so Anthony will like it if he's left-handed.
Wait a minute. Does it not have buttons on the other side?
No, it does.
On this model?
You can swap them.
Yeah, you can swap them.
But
So Anthony, he hurt his wrist after tooth screws.
Oh, there we go.
No, I've got that backwards. He hurt his wrist and they inserted 2 screws.
Oh, gotcha. Oof,
Yeah.
that's bad.
Well, no, there was one in there, which was what hurt him, and the second one's there to fix it.
You can actually add the other 2 buttons
Correct.
at the same time.
Yeah, you can have
And they're
four
additional
side buttons.
Yeah, and they're additional buttons.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
So it's $149.
Mooncat makes a pretty good observation.
What's
If you've got internal fixation screws in your wrist, do you want to put it over the charging pad of your mouse pad?
I'm sure it's fine. Those
So-
are titanium,
so-
right?
in Jim's story?
You get a charge out of
He
it.
talks about that. There's nothing is affected by the metal. It just it's less efficient of charging if you have metal things, like if you put your keys in the mouse pad. They're not
you're
gonna-
just-
they're not
'cause
gonna
you're
they're not
warming
gonna
up-
heat up and eventually melt.
No, but you're still
based on that.
you're
But
dissipating.
could we implant an LED into his wrist?
Oh, yeah.
And have it light up?
Then it could
I
light
mean,
up on the charge
that's probably
pad.
true. If you put in something, you could charge your wrist up while you're there. Yeah.
For later.
Sexy cat.
For later.
Why does your wrist have a Hitachi tattoo on it?
That's not just a tattoo.
It's illuminated from the back though with that LED.
It's an official company logo.
So the G903 is a really good mouse. If you know you're never going to want to buy the PowerPlay, just buy the G900 while it's still available at less price. But if it were me, I would buy the G903 and then have the ability to buy that wireless charging PowerPlay mat when it becomes available later this month.
Yep.
So that is my pick. Who's next? Let me find the pages. Go ahead. Who's job?
So this
Jeremy.
was a rotor that Chris reviewed a few years back. It was not selling at $99 in Canada at the time that he reviewed it.
Yeah.
It was more like
it's
150, which was excessive. But for $100, it's not the newest thing out there, but it tested amazingly well, and it's DDWRT compatible. So if you don't like what's running on it there, you can completely replace the firmware.
Hey, this is the router I have.
I ran this router for a while myself.
And for $100, can't
Yeah.
complain.
Fair warning.
'Cause
Common issue with this
The
router is
power
that
button?
the power button fails in the off position, and you have to disassemble the router and
Yeah.
ghetto rig it to keep on.
Yeah. How many times did you even hit the power button? Like,
I hit it once to turn it on, but
and
it
it
failed.
broke?
It's a push in button that's spring loaded, and
Yeah.
the spring just kind of fails over time.
Spring is sprung.
so to speak.
Yeah.
All is fell.
All
It's
right.
winter now and cold as hell.
Yep.
What else we got? Next.
Ah, me.
Yeah.
This is kind of
you.
interesting. This was sent to me by Earl. Let me make sure his name is correct because I forgot it here a second.
Earl sounds right.
Cameron.
That's not
Earl
Earl.
Cameron.
Oh.
It's I guess it's pronounced Amicia.
Wait, maybe I'm looking
Anyway,
at the
it's a
wrong
Quake
link.
2 real-time GPU path tracing using Quake 2. And it's full-time ray tracing. It does do some rasterizing where needed, but you can scroll down and see the performance on multiple high-end cards. FirePro W8100, 49.3 frames per second. So this is going to be kind of interesting. What's that?
1080 Ti should get a solid 60 looking at that and extrapolating it out.
Yeah. But Quadros, the GTXs, all that, it could be interesting to see how this
video was posted today.
That's pretty awesome.
Awesome.
No, I want to play Quake 2.
It's free.
We do have a game show coming up.
What resolution is it running?
Max-Q display.
What resolution is that running?
Max-Q monitor.
I have no idea.
Max-Q laptop.
Because that matters, right? Like it'll go slower with the...
Wow, look at those reflections on the floor.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
that is
impressive.
not there in regular Quake 2.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
That's pretty nice.
Maybe
This
we'll
would be
try it.
interesting
This was running on a
benchmark.
Titan XP here.
Yeah.
So...
But it's ray tracing.
I understand it.
Real
Playing a
time.
game, ray tracing.
Look, if we scroll away from this for a second, hold on, let me go here real fast.
Where was that video linked at, or did he add the link to his article?
No, it was in the it's on that page somewhere.
Yeah.
Don't forget that we had this story on the website back in 2006 from Daniel Pohl, who now I believe still works at Intel as a researcher, where he introduced everybody to ray tracing. This was a great set of stories, but they did Quake 3 ray traced, and then they ended up doing Quake 4 ray traced.
Don't think it
as
about
well.
Quake 4.
Was he playing it?
It was yes, it was.
Really?
Like, look at those images. Like that's incredibly sharp.
I just mean, was he playing it real time, or was he just having to render a few frames?
Was that ever released outside?
The Quake 3 one was for sure, but I don't know about 4. I think that might have been. Well, let me see here. Okay, so this was on the CPU. He's able to get 16.9 frames per second on a quad-core machine running at 256 by 256. All right, so
Okay.
Hey,
All right,
trying to
so
figure out
maybe
this
Quake 2 is
article.
a little bit.
Trying to figure out what the resolution
no, but
is.
it's running on a GPU now instead of a CPU. So I don't know what the algorithmic differences are as well. But but that's like in a downloadable, playable state, right? Like I'm all for that. I'll have to try it. We'll have to give it a shot. I'm not breaking the law if I play it, right, Josh?
No.
Promise,
Open source,
promise me?
baby.
Isn't Quake 2
Click
open
this
source
link.
anymore?
I think so.
The source is
The engine is.
the engine's open, but I believe the assets are still
Yeah.
under license.
Gotcha.
Got to put
I've
in
got
that
a
WAD
Quake
file.
2 CD here. I'm pretty sure you do as well.
Here
If not,
is a
Jam will probably
video.
buy
Here's a
one.
video of Quake 3 ray traced. The guy's just standing still. Here we go. So there's no, looks like there's not. There is motion there. It's exciting stuff. That's a lot of spheres.
Tiny bubbles.
It's a lot of reflections. I don't know what's going on with the shotgun necessarily, but you deal with what you can. All right, who else is up? Alan, what was your pick?
So when I was growing up, I used to like those electronics kits or anything that would like connect computers with electronics. Try to like merge both things. Ran across this. This is like a really, really cool looking thing for kind of like youngins to learn. Anybody into Arduino kind of programming or stuff like that. But think about this as a prepackaged. You don't have to solder anything. You don't have to go too deep into like learning code immediately, but it is programmable. So there is like a way to program it and a way to like kind of code your own games with this thing. But it's called the Pixel Kit. It's just, I don't know what the size of the array is, but it's basically just a box with like an LED display on it. It's like a little chunk out of like a display board at like a stadium.
Right.
Kinda, right?
Right.
Just imagine that in a handheld format with a couple of buttons on the front of it, and able to hook up to a computer and program, and just make it do different stuff. Looks really cool. Looks like
I think so.
Looks like there's an awful lot of possibilities to something like that, and definitely could get your kid going in the right direction as far as, if you're into electronics yourself and you want your kid to kind of follow in your footsteps a little bit, maybe. And
is 2 too young for this? Probably.
2 is probably too young for this. Yeah.
Dumb kid.
Maybe you could put the eyeballs on it like that was just there, and your 2-year-old might laugh at it or something like that. But it looked pretty cool. It's like $80.
Yeah.
And then I kind of have the more adult version of that, which is the kind of thing I would imagine Ken getting. Is number 2 there?
Yeah, fair.
That's cheaper. It's $25, and it's a bigger panel.
Well, you have to bring your own Raspberry Pi.
You have to bring your own Raspberry Pi, yes. But it is a does it say what the grid is? It's huge.
They would in the specs.
It's like 25 by 25 or 30 by 30 or something like that. LED panel, RGB LED panel.
One of my friends in college, when he graduated, he taped one of these to the top of his hat.
That's pretty cool.
He had a program that was
nerds,
pulling
son.
in. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah,
pulling in some information. I forget what it was even now at this point.
I mean, looks pretty cool if you want to tinker with something that would, make a display, square RGB LED display to show whatever the heck you want it to show, since it's connected to Android. I mean, or Arduino. Look at that! Oh, that was a.
This is really bad demo video.
Oh, I don't think this includes the Matrix.
What?
Oh, that kid doesn't include the Matrix. It's the controller to drive the Matrix.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yeah, it works with either 16 by 32, 32 by 32, or 32 by 64 matrices they sell.
Well, that's annoying. Well, now I gotta find. I gotta find.
You can also
that.
daisy chain them together up to a certain point.
Yeah, that's what they showed in that video. That was
they had 4 of them running together.
Yeah. And like a spectrum analyzer running
it's
across.
It's still going to be under $100 for.
It shouldn't be.
Cool.
It shouldn't be that expensive to put something like that together.
All right. Cool. Do we have anybody else? Did anybody else have one in there? No. Fantastic. That's going to end today's episode of the PC Perspective Podcast. Only thing I'll say is go to pcper.com/podcast. You can find all the back episodes, RSS files, MP3 files, video files, SoundCloud embeds. I don't know what the hell else is there. Links to all the stories we talked about today.
Yeah.
So, and any of the picks as well will be included in there. So
it also has who was on the show.
It does have who's on the show.
Yeah.
pcper.com/podcast. Go there. With that, we will see you guys next week. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
And I'm Alan Malventano.
Bye. Just realized, so the Threadripper NDA...
Is it over now?
No. Is going to be on Thursday morning.
That's nice.
Okay.
Which means the next week we'll have to talk about both the Threadripper review and...
RX Vega.
Oh.
Ooh.
I'm
Well, we
going
don't
to be
usually-
gone
When?
that Wednesday.
Oh, likely story.
Going to Florida.
You just thought
Okay,
up
so I got an idea.
Going to,
So
I am going to
So I
Florida
got an idea.
on the
Like,
16th.
we usually don't post the podcast until that following morning, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So what if we just had a video to just tack on to the...
insert.
We could try to do the podcast on Tuesday night or something.
No, Thursday. So like if you just had...
No. I'm saying we could we could record the podcast on the 15th instead of the 16th.
It's still...
Alan's talking about the podcast on the 9th.
Yeah.
If we edit in a section.
Oh, I get you.
We record it before we go live. We record that segment.
Oh, I see.
Right?
I see.
Do the podcast and say, hey, now we're going to talk about this, but we're not actually going to talk about it now live, but we're going to insert this piece, whatever,
Yeah.
At least the
we
content
could
will be
maybe
there.
start at record at 9:30.
Yeah.
Get all
Just-
of us
just start
to
a little
talk
bit
about
early,
Threadripper.
do the Threadripper
Well,
segment.
let's try to remember to do that next week. That's really the emphasis, is trying to remember to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll remind people.
I don't actually know what time it is on. It's not Wednesday. Oh wait, when is AMD doing it next week? So, oh wait a minute.
You said Thursday
Yeah,
is the launch.
Thursday morning.
Right.
But next Wednesday, AMD is going to be here, but they'll be gone by 4. Okay.
Will you be here next Thursday?
Wednesday. Will I be here next Thursday?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm here this whole next week. I don't leave until the 16th.
Okay.
Right, because the next podcast would
The one
be on
after.
the 9th.
Yeah.
And then the next one would be the
Which would suck for you to be gone for if
16th.
if it was the typical place where we'd cover Thread River.
Well, well, yeah, because it would be Thread Ripper and Vega, because Vega launches on the 14th.
Yeah.
So, ugh.
Ugh.
That's why it's better to do
Work.
it on the Wednesday and sneak it in.
We'll figure it out.
I'll be allowed
Do it
to
in
post
post.
my unboxing and
Well, I mean, everybody will be
Threadripper
able to
installation video tomorrow morning.
post. Okay. But
I was
that
just
goes for
telling
everybody, right? Like everybody?
For tomorrow?
That's
Yes.
the actual NDA now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that was always the NDA.
no.
Never mind.
Already been through that.
What
Yeah.
do I think I'm getting what do you call the toenail thing?
Excuse me?
Ingrown
Yeah.
toenail?
I think I'm getting one of
They
those.
suck.
What do I do?
You fix
Dig it
it.
You
out.
stub
You-
it really
you-
hard against something.
Yeah, you essentially
and that
dig it
way
out.
hurts even
You
more.
Stop it against something.
But when it stops,
I
you
don't
feel
wanna,
much better.
I don't want to do that.
Your wife's a
Now,
nurse,
what I
make
do
her
is,
it.
you know, the nail clippers, they've got that metal insert with the hook.
That's what
Oh my
that's what the thing is
God.
for.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That's
Your
what it's
ripper
for,
out.
is you shove it under there and you start just ripping it out. I'm used to
Like
the
Thread
pain
Ripper.
now.
Oh yeah, it doesn't even notice anymore.
The thing that you
Time
really
limited.
don't want is just to leave it be
No.
until it gets big
Yeah,
and red,
until it goes into
and
the
you put it
skin,
into a
yeah.
tub and you poke it with something and all this
Oh
pus
no,
comes
no,
out.
no, no. I have never
Yeah,
let one
that's
go
not
that
so
far.
good. You don't want to do that.
Like it
No.
doesn't hurt when I walk or anything yet, so it's just started.
Yeah.
Is this like the first time
Yeah.
you've had this in
I've
your
never
life?
had this before.
Oh man, you're a lucky
I
man.
didn't
serious?
either until my 30s.
Is it that
It's
common?
crazy.
It's
I didn't
well,
realize
as
it was
you get
like college,
older,
yeah.
it
Yeah,
hurts.
I get a
Yeah.
I get a bed diver at least once every 5 years.
I'm sorry, a what?
A bed diver where it digs into the toenail
So
bed.
to your nail bed.
This
Yeah.
is going into the
In the side.
into the side
Yeah,
of it,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
to
yeah.
the side.
Yep.
and it's like a little bit.
Toenails
Puffy
is
on the
dumb.
side.
They don't know
You
where
take
they're
a thing,
going.
you go further,
Toenails
you go
are
further
terrible.
towards you than where it's at.
Yeah.
You don't go to the end, you go further up and you kind of hook it around the edge and you slide up.
So that the nail is above the skin,
Yeah, it kind of
Yes.
forces it to,
and then you cut it.
well, and then, yeah.
Mm,
Well, it's,
You can cut it.
Sometimes you got to shim it to get the nail out of there.
I was waiting for you to say
Yeah.
shiv.
And
It's
then
you'll figure it out. I have
It
confidence
builds
in you.
character.
I'll have Kelly
It
do it,
builds
and I'll go like this.
character.
and then while it's infected for like a week or so and everything's just going badly, then you go to the doctor and they're like, "Why didn't you come here a week ago?"
Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. I don't
It
want to
won't
have
get to
have
that point if you
I don't.
just
I like.
take
I
care
did
of
the
it.
cursory like, oh, let me look this up on the internet, and it looks awful. Like when you have to have surgery to have one.
No,
removed or
no,
something.
no. It doesn't get that
No.
bad if you just.
No,
No,
I know,
seriously,
I know.
go home, put a couple of inches of warm water in your bathtub, let your feet soak for 15 minutes,
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah,
get that little hook thing out, and you'll be able to
it's not really. You're
pry it
if-
out with little pain.
We're talking
Once
about
you
the
get
thing
tough,
that's
you'll be
not a
able to do
very
it
big
dry,
hook,
but
right?
Start out slow.
If it upsets
Correct.
you this much, you can just get them removed.
My toenails?
Yeah,
Yes.
Why would I want that?
that's a solution to ingrown toenails. Like that's a
Marathon
medical.
runners.
I don't
do it.
really know what the purpose of the toenail is. to be fair, like I don't know what it's protecting me from, except I have
Hammers.
to cut them all. Yeah, but like it hurts when they hit them.
Yeah, no QuakeCon this year.
No QuakeCon. What hook are we talking about?
Gosh, if only I could find.
Hold on, I'm bringing stuff
Okay,
up.
so I've got these on my desk.
need something-
And these are what I
Yeah, mine are
keep.
back
You
there.
just need something.
Keep my.
That's
flush
my
not.
toes from
That is
getting-
not what you use.
That's not what I want.
First.
No,
No,
this
that's when
is
you
to
just wanna
keep
take the
them
toe
from
off.
getting ingrown.
Yes.
Are there just
Yeah, once you get
flush
things,
cutters?
up above the
Yeah, they're
skin,
Talking about
they're
this
basically
thing?
just
use
dikes.
these
The
to
thing
keep
you,
them
the thing you flip
cut
out.
short.
This part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And it
that
has
part.
something. It has okay. So sometimes it has a little hook, but not like a big hook. It's just
No,
like a
and
little.
it's not super sharp either because you don't want it to be sharp.
No,
you
it's
just
not
want it-
sharp. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Go back up.
Yeah, there you go. There
Go
you
back
go.
up.
That thing. No, go scroll down.
This-
in
Scroll
the...
down.
This. You looking
What
at
is
this?
that thing?
Oh, it's for someone who can't bend over.
Lord.
What is the?
There.
Might get one of those
See
for my dad.
the secondary thing that comes out
Yeah,
of the
that thing.
regular
Yes,
nail
this
clipper?
right here. Yeah.
That's what I use
never
to
had
dig
it.
my toenails out of my
I've
bed.
never used that before in my
Never
life.
had nail clipper with one
Well,
of those.
now you know
Well,
what
now.
it's for.
Well,
I've
like,
always,
a lot of them
a
don't
lot of
come
mine
with
have
that.
had it, and I always thought they were just really shitty nail files.
Well, it's also a nail file.
It's a
which
really
is
bad
shitty,
one.
But
Yes.
the purpose
But yeah,
of the
that
point
hook
on
part,
the end.
you get it under to where
I don't want
you have like air under your
Oh my
nail,
God.
and then you move it towards where
Toes are
things are
awful.
ingrown,
Toes are
and you
gross.
just pry the toenail out.
I don't like it when you say words like that.
Well,
Words.
this is what our live viewers benefit from.
See what you get as a patron subscriber.
As soon as the podcast was
Oh,
over,
So when you turn
man.
45 years old, you know that you're gonna have ingrown toenails.
we went right into
Just-
this, right into this, like right into it. Like you didn't even give it like 30 seconds after the podcast
Why
was
is your
over.
body gotta be so shitty when you get old?
Well,
Because
you know,
the reason I thought about it immediately is because I was putting my
Means out the
toe
wimps,
back into
Ken.
my sandal and it like clipped the edge of the
yeah.
rubber thing and it just hit it enough that it hurt a little
hurt.
bit. Yeah. Damn it. Change subject to earwax or something.
There's really
Somebody's-
nothing. To, you're like once you're gonna
Yeah, it gets darker as you get older. It's
once
also
you do it, you just be like, oh, okay.
And your nails get thicker when you get older.
Oh yeah.
It's, especially your toenails one. It's just
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I think we're all friends here. I've debated that I should get like pedicures every month.
You can.
Right? Like
Guys do it.
Fabulous.
but it just feels like I hate dealing with my feet
Yeah.
and I don't know.
Guys do it.
I guess I
I don't, but
I
guys
cut my
do.
own fingernails and stuff, and it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But for some reason, I don't know. It's a pain in the
Well,
butt.
that's the adult way of
You know
dealing
what?
with stuff, though. If you don't want to do it, you pay someone to do it for you.
That's true.
Wait. Do we need to have a boys' night out and get all mani-pedied
Oh
up?
no,
Get
no.
mani pedis.
It'd be
Only for live
fabulous.
stream it.
So we heard this one thing.
There's good
from
content
this
right
other
there.
guy.
Live stream
That's
it.
a
Bring them
vlog
in
right
here.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have someone do a house call. Find a mobile.
If I went to a pedicurist with my toenail as it is, would they think that was gross or normal?
In their line
I
of
don't
work, I'm
know.
betting that's
Not
not the
normal?
grossest thing they've seen that day.
No, I don't think they would.
I mean, it's not like infected or anything.
I think they would just fix it
Yeah.
for you.
No, not yet. I'm saying like some
They
people in the
would
chat
get
have
out
said
an
good with
angle grinder and come at you with it.
And you know you're old if
You'd see
sparks come.
sparks coming off your feet. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So people in the chat have said like, "Hey, you could go to a doctor. It's covered by insurance." And I'm like, "Yeah, but what if you just pay a pedicure the $30? Like, is that something they
Just
would
part of
normally
the
see
deal.
and like
Yeah,
they
but-
would just go
Oh God,
clip,
yeah.
clip, clip, and move on?"
Yeah, but they can't give you injectable numbing agents.
don't
He's
think
not
I
that
don't
far
think I need
gone,
that.
man. You're talking like
Yeah, I don't think I
talking
need
like his
that.
toes about to fall
Well, he's
off.
talking like he's foot's about ready to
No, he just
fall
doesn't
off.
want to do it.
I just don't want to do it.
just
Like,
Well, if you,
I'm
if you keep
very-
not want to do it, then somebody's going to do it for you at some point.
I'm like, I don't like watching surgeries.
Well, I don't like that either.
Blood. I'm not a fan of any of that type of
Seriously,
stuff.
stop the pain before it happens.
Yeah, I know.
Go put your foot
All right.
in a warm tub and
Dig around a
lift
bit.
that edge out of your flesh before it becomes an issue. All right.
Well, who was it that had the idea of packing a bunch of baking powder or baking soda underneath there and dipping it in vinegar?
Ew.
What?
That
Ew.
might work.
No.
Just
Exploded
pop it
away.
right up.
Yeah.
Ugh.
You can modify the toenail bed with laser or cryogenics. They give you local anesthetic to reduce short-term pain. Modify the toenail
Yeah,
bed with
they
lasers.
actually can kill off the two edges of where it's growing out from.
Yep.
So it makes the whole thing narrower.
Wouldn't your skin just come in eventually anyway?
No.
Well,
It does while
Sure.
it's growing out, but that it's a lot easier for it to, because it grows back smoothly. It doesn't have
Yeah.
that jagged edge on it.
yeah.
That's what they had to do with mine a couple years ago. Like, we're just going to cut a third of
All
this
right,
off.
I'll deal with this.
Tonight.
No, it won't be tonight.
So, like, that's what
Go
you're
home,
about to
wake
say.
up my wife. Hey, get up. Fixing my toenail.
You're doing surgery tonight.
And the kid needs a diaper change.
All these things need to occur.
Chop, chop.
And I'm out of bourbon. I don't know how.
Get me some bourbon. Make me a sandwich.
Sudo, make me a sandwich.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, man.
His wife's not geeky enough to understand that one.
She wouldn't get it.
You get slapped.
She
So I
just
think
be
I've pretty much
"So do
laid
what?"
out what's going to happen here The 10th is going to be the Threadripper NDA. The 14th is going to be the Vega NDA. We have several stories queued up. I'll be gone the 16th through the 19th. I'll be gone the 28th through the 30th. I think that's it. Alan's, you're going to be gone next week, right?
Yep. Flash Memory Summit.
Oh, that's time again.
I'm actually speaking at it this time.
It's the time of the year where Alan pretends he's actually doing work, though. Always has that Samsung dinner the night of the podcast.
Is it the night of the podcast?
Yeah, it is.
Actually, there is a Samsung and an Intel dinner, double booked.
Same
the
time?
night of the podcast.
That's unfortunate for everybody.
Basically, yeah.
Get the fish and the chicken.
Until scheduled theirs second after like basically everybody RSVP'd for the Samsung one, so that's gonna be interesting. You know.
Yeah, people are getting into really weird suggestions in these chat rooms. I think,
and I think they're on like two different sides of town too, so it's not. I don't think it's easy for me to like duck in and out of both of them either and make an appearance.
All right, I'm gonna get out of here.
Yep,
I gotta replace some certificates.
Oh boy!
How fun
on our servers at work. So
are you depending on Symantec?
What actor do I look like?
All right, bye, Josh.
Oh man.
Good night.
Hey, Josh.
Good night, guys.
Yeah, I think we're done for the night, guys. Goodbye. Check the YouTube channel tomorrow morning, and we'll have unboxing of the Threadripper package and installation video of the Threadripper package.
Yep.
Process.
And Ryan's foot.
There'll be no video of my foot.
I look like Michael Kelly.
I don't know who that
Which
is,
actor
but
is
somehow
Michael?
I doubt
Which
it.
actor is Michael Kelly?
Stamper.
Wait.
They're saying you look like Doug Stamper.
Oh.
Not wrong in that shot.
Didn't that come up months ago, or actually a couple of years ago?
Don't know him. Never heard of him. All right, everybody. Have a good night. See you guys.
Mm-hmm.